All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live now on our Facebook under the China ASEAN Legal Cooperation Center, in short CALCC's Facebook. So maybe we'll wait for a few more minutes for people to just join us. I think those who are watching at this moment, feel free to share out this live among your friends, and so that we get got more people watching this session. Today is going to be very interesting because we are speaking to our friends from India, and he's going to give us the perspective from the Indian legal industry in terms of fighting this COVID war. All right, for those just join us, give us a few seconds, few minutes, I think 1 or 2 minutes for more people to join us. We are live with our friends from India. Today we're going to discuss about the COVID-19 law, understanding the regional legal landscape from the Indian perspective. For those who have joined us, give us a like or just say hello to the page so that we know you are here. Perhaps you just say hello so that we know you're already here, you are in. Thank you so much for those who have joined us. We shall start this session in about 1 minute time. Feel free to share out among the different groups. Okay, so we're going to start in about 10 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to all of you. This is another series of the COVID-19 law seminars or sharing, the legal sharing from the different perspective of the lawyers, the legal experts from the around the world. So far we have done the sharing with lawyers from Singapore and from China. So today we are very honored to be able to discuss with legal experts from India, from the Indian perspective, what is the situation on the ground. As of now, I just briefly check, according to the official statistics, India has about 24,000 total cases, and total deaths stands about 700. Okay. So we would like to hear, more about the actual situation and from the legal experts from India. Now, if you can see live here, on the right, we have Nishant Awana from India. And on the left bottom, we have Rammit Kaur from Malaysia. And on the right bottom, you will see Dato. He's the president of China ASEAN Legal Cooperation Center, CALCC, the man behind this organization. And we are bringing you live. We're bringing you live all over from the legal experts from all over the world to share out the knowledge and share out the experiences that we are going through. Okay, so I think for a start, I think we'll let Nishant to say hello to all our audiences here and say hello, introduce yourself, where are you from and how's the situation? And I'll pass it to you, Nishant.
Hi, namaste. I am Nishant. from India, based in Delhi. I'm an advocate, founder at NMA Law Chambers, practicing primarily in India and dealing with cases in Delhi and neighboring parts of it. So presently, the situation in India is, you can say, it's somewhat controlled for a simple reason that looking at the population that we have, we are second largest population in the world, 1.3 billion people, and then having a virus like this which can actually travel in the community, and it can endanger a large number of population. So in that sense, it is pretty much controlled in India, and the government is doing every bit that they can. But due to this, there has been a lockdown since 24th of March, which has led to lockdown of industries, businesses, and which has actually impacted business to a large extent. People are working from home. There have been few relaxations after 20th of April, but this is what the scenario is at the moment. All the courts are shut, but the courts are taking only extreme urgent matters through video conferencing, using the technology that we are using today, and we can communicate with each other using the same technology.
Yes.
So it is pretty much controlled, and hopefully things will get better in the coming month. Probably by end of May, then we might have something in the economy to talk about.
Right. Okay. So I would like to hear from Rammit. Rammit, hearing from your perspective, perhaps also explaining to our audience in India about the situation that we are facing currently in Malaysia. Because I believe this stream will be live in various countries, so they would like to hear from the Malaysian perspective as well. So, but for a start, I think please introduce yourself. We have known you for many years, but for the for the purposes of the audience in front of their handphone, mobile phone, cell phone, or even tablets, please introduce yourself. Yes, Rammit.
Yeah, hi, very good afternoon. Firstly, thanks to CALCC for organizing this session, and of course, hi to Nishant. I've known Nishant for many years. He did intern with the arbitration center before. So my name is Rammit. I'm actually currently practicing as an ADR consultant, providing services on the various ADR services, mediation, adjudication, and arbitration. Mainly for industries, commercial and also construction industry. So I've been mostly, in the transportation industry, in-house counsel for a while, and now practicing as a full-time adjudicator, arbitrator, and again, counsel work and all of that. I've also been part of the CALCC committee members in all the initiatives that's undertaken between Malaysia and China. Now that's a brief introduction. You can Google the rest. I'm sure you'll find some stuff. And now, as regards to Malaysia, I think things are more controlled at this stage. We have managed to flatten the curve, as we say. It's getting more comfortable seeing a lesser number of new cases than those discharged from hospital. I think Malaysia have managed well so far, and the movement control order was initiated quite early, and I think the government is responsive, and we are seeing all the efforts that's being undertaken by the government so far. And initially we had a 3-phase, and now we're going into our MCO. And initially, of course, it's much more stricter, and only essential services was allowed to carry on. But now we see government is slowly, because the situation is under control, slowly opening up certain areas, certain industries that's required. Of course, with restriction, with guidelines and protocols being provided. So that's basically the general scenario of what's going on in Malaysia currently.
All right. Thank you, Rammit. Dato Ricky, so anything you'd like to add about the current condition in Malaysia?
No, I think we'll just move ahead and listen to Nishant. Everyone dying to listen. How's India? How's law practice? How the other end of your place, we are very concerned about all our friends around in India,
Yeah,
in China. The purpose of this part of our initiative to say hi to all our friends and ask, hey, how's your side? What do you think about legal practice? Why don't we
yeah.
start? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. But before that, we will just say hello to the friends who just joined us on Facebook. I will put up some of the comments on. Good afternoon, folks, from Rajan Paul, right? We will see Ku Cheng Mei. She say hello to everybody. Marcus says hello. And we have Ganendran Awana. Good afternoon. Hi, good afternoon. Related to Nishant. I think watching from India. Ong
India.
SH. Yeah. Ong watching.
You got
Good
my
afternoon, Sabri. Yes,
good
all right.
afternoon.
Ong says good afternoon. Namaste from Rajam. Namaste, Rajam. Um, Inspector Lee. Inspector Lee is with our police force from PDRM. He said very good sharing. Thank you, Mr. Lee. And we have SJ Go. Good afternoon, everyone. So these are the comments. If you are still here, you are here. Oh, Rini Badoni, just namaste, just came in. Namaste. Thank you so much for watching. We are live with our legal experts discussing the theme for today's session is on India and how are we how the country and also the legal industry is tackling this COVID-19 law. Yes, thank you so much. Oh, our friends coming in. So I think we just take some time to say hello to everybody so that we acknowledge people who has taken their time to share with us.
No,
To
we
listen.
should. We should.
Yeah, hello, Emily. Say good afternoon. Hello, Emily. Then we have our friend Bravo Alpha. Namaste. All right. Hello, namaste. Ajay say good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to you too. And we have Lanit Bumbla. Namaste. Okay, that's great. That's great. Now, thank you so much for those who just put in the comments. I think if you have any questions and any feedback, you'd like to get some this response from our speaker today, please feel free to put in the comments today. Then we have Margaret Ong say good afternoon, everyone. Hi, Margaret. Good to see you. And we have Ricky Tan who says hello, just testing the whether it works, whether I missed out. No, I didn't miss out anyone. I acknowledge everybody who has put in the comments. So I think we should because people spend time and do the sharing. And by the way, I think after this session, if you haven't watched live, and you feel free to share it to more people, right? So let's dive into the session today. We have discussed about the situation. We like to hear from Nishant. What is the impact? What's the impact to businesses in your country when this COVID-19 came in, and when was the exact date of movement control or lockdown, and until now, what's the impact? And as a lawyer, then what are the impact to your clients that you're working with? Are they still in business, or they are already out of business, or they are calling you? What's the impact generally? Nishant.
See, so the nationwide lockdown was actually announced with effect from 24th of March. Initially, what the government had done was on the 22nd of March, they had announced a Janta Curfew, which is called People's Own Lockdown. People had themselves imposed a lockdown on themselves at the suggestion of the Honorable Prime Minister. So, with effect from 24th, all the businesses were shut. Everything was shut. So, it has some serious repercussions on the businesses in India. So, because India's economy of $2.9 trillion, so it is a huge economy, and bringing it to a standstill just by one order, it has serious implications on the businesses.
All right.
Because businesses are under obligation to pay to their suppliers, pay salaries to their employees, pay wages as per the direction of the government to the workers. Then there are other obligations in the businesses. Since the revenues have been cut short to a large extent, except few essential services are working and which can actually sell and generate few revenues. Other businesses which form majority part of the businesses have been stuck up. They've got a major blow. And in addition to that, there have been few steps which have been taken by the government which in fact the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, which is the central bank of India, it has actually allowed the banks to give 3 months moratorium to businesses, that they can repay their loans after 3 months. So this is their step in the right direction, if I may say so. But with few, of course, suggestions from my end, because everybody, if you look at the interest component of that period has not been waived or deferred, you will still be liable to pay interest. So all these things coupled, the businesses have been getting a setback. Then additionally, what the businesses are being burdened with is that there have been a direction by the government to all the businesses to pay wages to the workers. And mind it, these are the directions under National Disaster Management Act, and it follows with prosecution. In case of violations, there are prosecutions. So there have been petitions which have been filed before the Honorable Supreme Court of India, challenges this direction, that saying that businesses do have a right to function. If there is no revenue and they are being asked to pay wages to the workers, or it has a great impact on their business. They may be, like you were saying, have they been out of the business now? So if they are asked to pay salaries to their employees or pay wages to the workers, they might, if not today, tomorrow they'll be out of business. So these are few steps which the government has taken, few in the right direction, few probably, if I may say so, in the wrong direction, or probably not put in the way they should have been. Probably announcing a package for any business which has actually got a hit because of this lockdown. So let's see. People have even challenged this in the Supreme Court. So this is what briefly what we can talk about businesses in India. So it's pretty serious at the moment.
It's quite interesting you say that there's an act, but there has been petition to challenge this in the Supreme Court of India. So my question is, who took up this role to actually petition it to the Supreme Court of India?
So these are, right now, there have been 2 petitions actually. So these are association of businesses which have filed it.
Right.
So on behalf of on behalf of the whole community, they have challenged these directions, saying because if I may talk specifically, so we have Industrial Disputes Act. So under Section 25M, it provides for a situation where you can lay off the employee, you can lay off the workmen. So under that 25M, you have the right, in a natural calamity, you can lay off the workmen. But here, in contradiction to that provision, they've asked you to pay salaries to them without any deduction, which actually means that it is an implied direction not to lay off them, not to lay them off. So that is what the problem is at the moment.
I see.
This is a challenge before the Supreme Court.
Right.
So here in India, people are a little proactive. There is a lot of judicial scrutiny on the directions or the orders passed by the executive.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
From Rammit's point of view, when you are working with the organizations or company from an ADR's point of view, what do you see are the impacts on the businesses?
I think what mainly would be the industries that are most affected. I think at this point, major industries would be oil and gas, and of course construction, I think, which is have the largest manpower. These are ongoing work, and then these industries impact the economy directly. I think from the dispute resolution perspective, would be, I think, the uncertainty at this point, how these companies are to manage, employees, and then at the same time, because they are going to impact the economy. So I think that would be the main concern, how the regulations or the guidelines are. I think with Malaysia itself, government is quite sensitive. There are regulations that are coming through with each MCO that's being extended. Of course, looking at the minimum time of 14 days, every 14 days, the government has not given a total extension for months. I think the idea is to see how it goes and how it's impacting the business and all of that, because knowing how it can impact businesses. So I think perhaps focus should be even more to whichever industry is going to be impacted mostly. The other perspective is, as a practitioner of dispute resolution, how do we then, during this time, assist our clients in providing advice and basically no one's going to take action really. Everything is on hold at this stage, but how to best prepare them to see what's the next stage, what's best to do at the point where we are more certain, we are more clear with what's going on. So I think all these uncertainties is one of the main challenges.
Certainly, certainly. All right. Now, I want to dive into a very, very interesting issue on HR management. Dr. Ricky, if you don't mind, I will let Nishant to speak more, to share more. Now, you said just now that the Act says that you must pay full salary, full wages, and so the question is there any wage subsidy that is given by the government? Because we see that country like Singapore, if we understand correctly, they are subsidizing up to 75% of the salary of the staff. Malaysia, we have a certain amount, up to 1,200 ringgit. That is about $300 per month. We've spoken to our friends from China, and I think the government is giving one way or another some subsidy, because they are telling businesses not to retrench. They're telling the businesses cannot go cut their salary, but on the other hand, they also give some subsidy. So how's the situation in India? Is there any subsidy given by the government?
No. As far as the direction, if probably you got me wrong, the direction was only with respect to the wages that are payable to the workers. It is not for the employees as such. The direction to pay salaries, the order which was passed was only with respect to the wages to be paid to the workers, not to the employees. As far as your question is concerned with regard to payment of subsidies, so what the government of India is doing at the moment is, because there have been mass movement of workers also, migrant workers who have moved from urban to rural areas. So what the government has done is now they've provided shelter homes to these people. They have now, they are giving a certain amount of money to the workers at the place they are located. So it ranges from state to state. Central government has announced a package which they are giving to these workers, not to the employees,
right,
not to these businesses, but to the worker class, which is the lower class, and which forms
right,
a major part of the population of India. So they have announced certain packages for these people, and even they are providing the package so that they can packets of raw material so that they can eat, even when let's just assume there are employees who are not in the organized sector but in an organized sector. So in the unorganized sector, like you have all these small vendors, street vendors who have run out of business because of the lockdown. So government has announced packages and also providing them with raw materials. There is no package as such for the businesses. We are expecting something from them, from the government. They might announce something for the businesses, but as far as their initial budget was concerned, the initial package, they were mainly focusing on the health sector to have more masks, to have better infrastructure to cater to the needs of the health sector, to provide insurance to the frontline workers, to the health sector workers, which was about 5 million Indian rupees, if I may say. So 5 million for about 2.2 million health workers. That the initial focus is on the health sector. They have announced few packages for the lower class people, not for businesses as yet.
I see. All right. So if a company is having a difficulty to pay the salary to the employees, and they have no choice, they go for retrenchment. So what will be the procedure that the company has to comply with before they undertake such an exercise in the company?
So that is the problem. So right now, even
That's a
if you are
problem.
facing a, yeah. So even if you are facing a financial crunch, you can't really retrench a worker at the moment. If in
Right.
case of contractual employees, you can probably do that at your own risk, because there is no such direction. There is only an appeal by the Honorable Prime Minister, who has asked us to not retrench anybody at the moment, because these are difficult times. Everybody is facing difficulties, be it the employees or the employers. So in the absence of it, I don't know, businesses can't remove anybody. But in my opinion, there is actually a conflict between two acts at the moment, which is a debate here. The National Disaster Management Act directives issued under National Disaster Management Act, and the right of an employer to lay off somebody under Industrial Disputes Act. So these
I
are two
see.
specialized legislations.
So this
So
is a
let's
two
see.
specialized legislation that you mentioned about in the beginning, the conflict
Yeah.
and the
So
petition.
though there is a provision in the NDMA, National Disaster Management Act, which provides the overriding clause that it shall override any other law which exists. Well, let's see how the Supreme Court interprets it. The petition is pending before the Supreme Court. People are actually petitioning it to the government also to consider, because no business is going to pay out of their own pocket.
Of course.
We can be very sure about this. It will, today or tomorrow, it will come down to customers. If they sustain in these scenarios, if they move out of the business, they move out of the business. People will remain unpaid. So these are
Understand.
difficult times.
But Nishant, can I just ask, what is the penalty or what's the repercussion if I don't follow? I keep on retrenching because I have to, because I have no money. That's why I'm retrenching. So what can the specific law do to the company?
In the National Disaster Management Act, there are two provisions which provide for penalties, and penalties are up to 7 years of imprisonment and some amount of compensation. I can't recollect the amount. And there are few acts. I believe, if I'm not wrong, it is Section 53 of National Disaster Management Act, which says that if there is a violation of the order of the government, which has been passed under the Act, there will be penalty, which is, I can't recall the penalty and the imprisonment, but there are.
But that's the question. That's the question, isn't it? If I don't have money, I want to comply, but I can't comply. Would that still be a penalty? Is it right?
It won't be right. That is what I'm saying. It's a problem. I'm sure government is also at the moment thinking of how to get out of it, because they are also aware. They are also aware of the situation that if the businesses do not have money, where will they pay the salaries from? Where will they pay the workers from? Where will they pay the rent from? Where will they pay their suppliers from? There is a break in chain. If I don't get money, I don't pay my employers. My employers don't pay the shopkeeper. Shopkeeper doesn't pay the supplier chain. It's a chain which gets break.
I don't think it's a chain, because it's a one-way street only. Because there's only one person paying, it goes down the chain. It never comes back around.
It has to come back to me. If I don't get money, the person I have sold my goods to is not paying me money because it's a lockdown. I can't purchase goods. I can't sell goods.
But this way, I look at it another way. If I don't pay because I have no money and I have to be taken care for 7 years, someone is going to pay for my food.
No, of course. So that is what we are expecting. We are expecting something there. Probably government might come up with a plan there, because it's actually very, very sad. Because if you don't have money, you can't do it. So what the big businesses are doing these days is they've cut down on salaries of employees by 30, 40, 50%.
Was this act there before, or is a new act?
It has been it has been in existence since 2005.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So it was passed in 2005. So these provisions were always there.
Yeah. So you were mentioning the cut down. The companies are actually going ahead with some cut downs.
Yeah. It was initially, even in the initial days of lockdown, there were reports that like SpiceJet Airlines had cut down on the salaries. There are a few other businesses who had cut down on their salaries. So that is there. But as far as the wages are to, they will have to be paid. As far as wages to the workers are concerned, they will have to be paid. But businesses are cutting down on salary of the employees who are contractual employees. But the ones who are protected under the labor laws, they have to be paid by the by the businesses.
All right. So interesting. So let's look at is there any other comments? For those who just joined us, I think we see more friends joining us. This is a live interview with our legal expert from India. Today we are talking about the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on the country, on the community, as well on the legal industry. So today we are very honored to have our guests discussing specifically on the issue of India. Namaste. For those who have just joined us, I see that Nishant must have a lot of fans from India. And let me just project it out. Mahendra Awana, hi. Hi. Good to see you. We have Subhash Chauhan, say namaste. Then we have Ricky Tan, who is also, testing our system. Is it better to pay bank if able to pay later? So this is the discussion we had at this moment. And we have Rajam Paul. How is a Supreme Court meeting? So yeah, I think there was a discussion about a petition has been filed to the Supreme Court of India. So at this lockdown, are they hearing it in the physical court setting or is it virtual?
It's virtual. The Supreme Court and various high courts in India are taking up matters through video conferencing, and they are at the moment taking urgent matters, which are of urgent importance. They're taking up these matters only. It's through video conferencing.
Excellent.
Because we are maintaining social distancing and people are not being allowed to gather.
Yes, the Malaysian judiciary, we had our first live stream of a hearing. I think it was a court of appeal case. We had it 2 days ago, and I think this is a way forward. We'll come back to this issue later. Then we'll say, let's look at it. Manju Chauhan, say hi. We have Ditya Thakur said namaste from Nitya Nant Thakur. All right, and then we have our friend Sudhir Sud saying namaste. I think that means namaste, and I think someone put a very comment. Sane Bansal saying Nishan very well explained in India's situation. Steps taken by the government not sufficient. All right, so these are the few comments, and we have it from the audience at this moment. And I think we'll move on to another very interesting topic on businesses, on the physical office. When we are in a lockdown situation, you can't operate from the offices. So the million-dollar question is, what will happen to the rental? So is there any provision of the law under the your Natural Disasters Act to say that it gives certain leeway for businesses to defer or even to reduce on the rental, because rental also makes a big part of the cost. So how is the situation in India?
So see, under the National Disaster Management Act, the provisions only provide for powers given to the national executive, which can pass orders. There is no such provision to actually talk about specifically for a situation. It gives powers to the national executive who can, in their own wisdom, pass orders. And as of now, there are no orders from the national executive with regard to payment of rent or deferment or if I say waiver for payment of rent at this juncture. So all the businesses are being asked to. In fact, yesterday itself, I got a call from a client who inquired as to how can I pay rent if I don't have any business. But there is no protection as such even today. If we talk about government directions, there are no directions. There is nothing, but the people are being asked to pay. They can only probably settle the matter between themselves and say, look, we have been supporting you for such a long period. We have been paying rent since past 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. You could just defer the rent or reduce the rent for such period because there is no business as such. So we are only suggesting businesses at the moment to have negotiations with the landlord who can probably give them some waiver because there is actually nothing which can protect the businesses from payment of rental at the moment.
I see. Yeah, Dato Ricky, you want to share something from the Malaysian perspective?
I think.
But as far as I'm sorry, but as far as the payment of rentals by the workers are concerned, so government has directed the landlords not to collect rent from the workers, the lower class workers, for a period of 1 month. And then in few states it has been extended till 3 months that you can't recover rent from the workers. So main focus of the government at the moment is the grassroots level population of the country, which forms majority population of India.
How does India determine the grassroots of workers? How do you determine?
No, so we have so there are mechanisms. So one such is that BPL, which is below poverty line. So we have a category called below poverty line. Then there are workers who are protected under labor laws, who derive a certain amount of wages in a month, who will be protected under the labor laws. Then there is that category. That there are categories of
depending on their income per month,
income.
they will be protected.
It's basically the income to put it in crux. I mean, to be precise.
Right.
Sorry.
Rammit, would you want to share something from the Malaysian tenancies, this rental perspective?
Okay, but I just want to ask Nishant as well.
Yeah.
You mentioned that India also had this moratorium of payment of housing
3
payments.
months.
That is at 3 months, right? So I'm not sure if
Yes.
that's where probably the government think that will have a fallback effect on the fact that the landlords are not going to lose much. Of course, their interest and the maintenance and whatever not that they have to pay. So I think the situation in Malaysia would be, we have the moratorium for 6 months. I think at least landlords are not burdened with the fact that they have to make those payments. Those are deferred as well, with I think no compounding interest and simple interest rather. I'm not too sure about that. I stand corrected. As regards tenancy, I think initially in the initial phase of MCO, when it was unclear, we keep hearing there are landlords who are being easy with tenants, and there are discussions about allowing tenants leeway, but there were not clear directions. But now, for small, medium-sized businesses at least, the government has included in the stimulus package that about 30%, I think, that they can recoup if they reduce those rental payments. But I think it's only affecting small and medium-sized enterprises. Not so much individuals. There seem to be discussion between respective bodies in terms of the joint management bodies of condominiums and whatever, not to see if they can give leeways to maintenance fees and all those other kind of fees that do affect landlord and the amount of leeways they can give to their tenants. I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah, Dato Ricky, you were about to say something or ask something just now?
No, I think I would suggest that now maybe in India's situation, lawyers can play a role of mediating and try to help to balance up between the landlord and also the business side of it, because if all the landlords were to kick all the tenant out, it's hard to kickstart back again when the restriction is lifted. So I think lawyers can play a very good role.
I would agree there.
and that would be the best way to do. I have experienced my my client is being kicked out, so he left, and then the landlord is trying to beg them to come back in because they realize it's difficult to look for another tenant a few months down the road.
Exactly.
So to achieve a win-win situation, I think we can do and play a very good role in helping by mediating for them. Yeah.
This is
Right.
what we are suggesting at the moment, because this is the only way out. By going, not going for mediation and going for litigation is not only going to be a little hectic, but also involve costs, because fighting a litigation doesn't come free. It involves a cost, and in these times, your aim is to cut down on your cost as well.
Yeah. So
Right.
I
Right.
think it's
Okay.
good time for mediation and negotiation at this point, really.
It would be an advisable course of action to be adopted by the businesses as well as the landlords. If the businesses run out of business, then landlords will be rendered
No one can
businesses
actually.
themselves.
Yeah.
Businesses themselves, they will be
Yeah.
not generating as much revenue as they were initially.
But
That,
what Malaysia government did was those low cost housing that has been under the government or state authority, they don't have to pay rental for a certain period of time. But certain SMEs, small medium enterprise, they are given they themselves don't have to pay for a certain period of time if it's owned by government linked companies and whatnot. But what is left out in Malaysia is the private entities, or I can say law firms are even being left out. We still have to pay rent. So how about yourself? I see that does this affect the legal industry as well in India?
I'm sorry, there was some disturbance. I couldn't get the whole question.
Uh,
I'm sorry.
does this rental issues affect the legal industry in India as well? Because
So, so, so
in
interesting.
Malaysia we don't get a lot of the reduction or moratorium for rentals because we are neither below the poverty line or neither we are small medium enterprise. So there are a lot of private sectors being left out. So how about India? How about law firms in India? Are
No,
they
so
affected as well?
no, everybody is affected. See, the protection, the directions are only for the lower strata, and there are actually petitions given to the government saying that there are also advocates who are probably not doing that great and are burdened with the cost of paying rentals in places like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, Calcutta. These are expensive places, and but there is no relief as such for lawyers or law firms at the moment, and I doubt there would be any relief for the lawyers here as well. The situation is probably as same as it is in Malaysia.
Let me share with you. Malaysia, we don't get much of help, but then certain workers that is below 4,000 ringgit, they get some form of subsidy from the government. But in China, we just found out from our friends that the Chinese government do pay allowance to the lawyers who provide legal uh, services to the corporates. So they get subsidies by continuing doing their legal job.
Oh,
Okay.
that's
No, but here, what has happened is there were few. We have bar councils of respective state and bar council of India. So there are funds collected from us in the form of advocates welfare fund. We have a welfare fund which is managed by bar council. So bar council in Delhi, bar council of Delhi has actually given all the needy advocates a sum of about 5,000 rupees to these advocates, Indian rupees. And this has been followed by Uttar Pradesh also, which is a neighboring state, and the suit is being followed by other states as well. So the funds that we have, the advocates are being paid from that fund, which is a welcoming step in these difficult times, I believe.
That's very good. I think
That's very
Malaysian
good
Bar
to hear.
Council should know as well.
So anyone from Malaysian Bar Council watching this, I think there's something that we can learn from the experience from our friends from India. Now, so moving on to the next question about COVID-19. Is there any specific law that was enacted after the outbreak, or the National Disasters Act was enacted before the outbreak? Or is there any new law that enacted by the government to tackle this problem specifically, Nishant?
So there is no new law as such, but there are amendments to the existing law.
Right.
We have insolvency and bankruptcy code. So the government has raised the threshold for invoking insolvency under the IBC to 10 million Indian rupees. Initially, it was 1 lakh, which is about 0.1 million, with a view to prevent triggering of such proceedings against small and medium enterprises that are facing currently the heat of coronavirus pandemic. So
right.
They are also considering suspension of provisions of insolvency and bankruptcy code if this situation continues beyond 30th of April. So there are this is one aspect. This is with respect to insolvency. Then they have brought in an amendment to the Epidemic Diseases Act, which was of 1897. Now they have, because India was facing few attacks on health sector, frontline workers, health sector staff. So now that they've brought in these amendments to protect these health staffs, because they've brought in harsh penalties, there is imprisonment also. And there is no such new law, but there are only amendments to the existing one.
Right. Okay.
Nishant, I just out of curiosity, I've been following on some news in India. I've seen people's reaction to when the medical officers go around and try to rally up those who are infected, but they keep on have any resistance from the public. So
yes,
how?
That's for a reason. That's for a reason, because here the problem is that people are actually not understanding the magnitude of it. It's whenever we are doing random samples, when we are taking random samples from containment zones, so people actually think that these people might just bring in diseases into our area, or they are targeting a specific community, or they are not doing everything they can. So all these are outcomes of probably fear, or it is because of that. It has so now people are understanding. There are advertisements from the government saying that because we need to contain this disease, this is a deadly disease. So people are now understanding, and they have brought in a law also, and they are publicizing it also, saying that if in case you attack the health sector staff members, the frontline workers, in that event there will be consequences which will follow.
I observe is the enforcement officer used the caning method to.
That's what. So
I think it's quite effective. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it has to be, because people actually I have been seeing that in US, and I was wondering, why isn't police doing anything? In US, people are protesting on the road. You look at New York State, and it has the largest number of coronavirus cases and deaths in the whole world, more than any other country. And people are on the road without any mask, and police is actually watching. And in my opinion, there should be something against them, because they would be the one who would be carriers of a virus. Then, if you come out of there is a lockdown in place, and it's for a reason. It is to avoid the further spread of the virus. And if you keep coming out, you keep doing whatever you were doing before the lockdown, the whole purpose of lockdown gets defeated. And you can't always arrest people and put them in the jail. You can't overcrowd the jails as well. So there has to be a instant method which can actually discourage them from coming out of the road.
So my point is the caning in India would be a new policy or new law, specially
It is not a
enacted.
law. It is not a law. It has it is not a law though. But it has been derived right on the point. It has been developed right on the point that what should we do? We can't arrest these people and put them in the, behind the bars. So let's just give them a couple and then probably.
I totally agree. It works. It works very well. It works very well.
Leading to that, I just want to ask a question: whether there are concentrated states or certain area where COVID is more severe overall India, and like, have you all zoned them? Are there like zones which are green and can move forward, or the laws are applying to every generally, or every state has its own enforcement mechanism and a right to actually apply or loosen businesses and all of that? How is it?
So, just like I was saying, under everything that is happening is under the National Disaster Management Act. So the national executive gives an order to the states that this is the plan that we'll follow. These are few categories that will work. These are categories that won't work, and the states are at liberty to put in stricter measures, but they can't relax whatever the central government has said. So there are instances where when there was a lockdown, initially the lockdown was only till 14th of April. But before the lockdown could be extended from 14th of April to 3rd of May, as of today, there were a few states who had already extended their lockdown to the 30th of April. So the states are at liberty to have their own mechanisms in place, but they can't be more relaxed what the central government has advised. They can be stricter. And so this is it.
Right.
If I'm not following any other, if I miss out on any question, Rammit, please you can ask.
No, you have answered.
Yeah.
We were talking about the legal suit brought by certain parties, the so-called ICJ and the bars of the India against the Chinese government. So maybe you can explain to our viewers what's that all about.
So there are these organizations, ICJ and AIBA. So ICJ is International Council of Jurists, and AIB is All India Bar Association. So these organizations have actually filed a petition in the UN, though I haven't got a hand at the petition to read about what exactly is the what exactly are the contents. But what they've contended is that China was not very prompt, was not they were underplaying the spread of the disease, and even during those times, the Chinese people and the foreigners who were in China were traveling back to their countries, and Chinese population was also going to other parts of the world. So they are seeking damages from China, it's an undisclosed amount, which I could read from the media reports. It's an undisclosed amount which they are seeking against China government. They've also made Wuhan that department, virology department, that they've made that a party. They've made China a party in that petition. So they are saying that they could have been little vigilant about it. They could have handled it better, because as per the stats, the official stats which are available on the internet, we look at that China is now probably on the 7th or 8th number who are the most affected countries. So where it started from was less affected than the other parts of the world which are more affected because of it, including India. So these organizations, ICJ and AIBA, are at the moment headed by Mr. Adhish C. Agarwal, who's a senior advocate practicing in the Honorable Supreme Court of India here. So he has probably filed it. So let's see what is the outcome of this petition and how it can sustain in the eyes of international law.
So this is actually a private kind of attempt to sue the Chinese government. It is not from the Bar
Government
Council or Government of India.
No. It's not a Bar Council. Bar Council has not filed any petition, neither the Government of India. It is these organizations associations, if I may say,
Right.
associations which are filed.
I see. Because first reading of the articles, it doesn't say, we don't understand where are they from. We thought that it
No,
was
so ICJ, so the International Council of Jurists is an association, as an organization which is based in London, which is presently being headed by an Indian personality, when it has been headed by different personalities from around the world. There are even at a point it was headed by a Supreme Court judge of India. Then it was also headed by a Brazilian judge, then some Pakistan judge. So it has been headed by different people over the course of period. As far as AIBA is concerned, All India Bar Association, it is an Indian organization which is headed by Mr. Adishi Agarwal, who's an Indian citizen.
Right.
Well, you can keep us posted on it, whether it's successful or not.
I will keep WhatsApping it to you.
Thank you. If you can get the petition for us, it will be good. We can have a look
I
at
will
it.
I will attempt to get it. Yeah. I will attempt to get it, and then probably I'll share it.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. We'll take on another issue. Then after that, we'll leave some time to answer some of the questions by the viewers at this moment. So another issue that I would like to hear from Nishant is what's the view about the legal industry's future looking at this pandemic? If we didn't have this COVID-19, maybe perhaps we would not have this chance to speak through the video conferencing. And we found out, this is another way that we can communicate, but we are thousands and thousands of miles away. And in fact, before this, I told Nishant that his video quality is better than any one of us. So what's the view about this legal industry's future from this pandemic?
See, what I believe
Nishant,
is
before you answer, are you in the office? Are you at home?
I am in my office, which is actually, it is my chamber, which is located in my house itself. I have the chamber in my basement.
Okay.
I have that advantage. I can use the rooster of my office.
All of us are having a house background, is it? You have the advantage.
No,
yes.
We are trying to catch lawyers who are sneaking back to office.
No.
Right.
I am not. So this is my chamber in my residential. At my residence itself.
So
anyways,
Nishant, yes.
Yeah. So see, what I believe is that post-COVID, though the nature of the work in the legal profession may change, but the quantum of work will remain the same. This is what I see. Because the nature would be that there will be more litigations which will be connected with the COVID. There will be few non-payments, few non-compliance of terms of the agreement, force majeure, and all of that. So, additionally, there will be restructuring, insolvency, and distress deals will also increase. And that there shouldn't be any adverse impact on the corporate litigation as such, because more such kind of litigations will only involve more corporate litigation. So for lawyers in India, I'm only talking about perspective of India. So lawyers in India will only get more work, but of a different nature. And after COVID, see, in these times also we are working. Though working from home, we are filing petitions from home, and we are also attending video conferencing from home. We are attending matters in High Court. We are attending matters in Supreme Court. Let's say, even if I want to file a petition in the Bombay High Court, which is about 2,000 miles away from Delhi, I can file it from here and argue it from here. I can just use the video conferencing facility. Somebody who can file a petition from Chennai and argue a matter in Supreme Court. So we are making the best of use of technology as on date, and this would be a step, probably a right step in the right direction.
This started before COVID or after COVID?
No, so this is after COVID. After COVID, all video conferencing that we are doing, and we started them within a week from the lockdown.
Wow.
So Supreme Court, High Courts have been handling these matters, even the district courts for that matter, where the bail applications are filed. these matters are also being handled by through video conferencing. So in that sense, India is well equipped. The legal system of India is well equipped. It's only that we have to increase the number of matters which can be taken up through video conferencing, and there are committees also now which are looking at these angles, because India has a huge population, and the infrastructure, the legal infrastructure as such, can't actually cater to such large number of population who would want to come and attend their matters. So it would be a nice thing to see how India can actually cope up in these times. I mean, after these times, and see video conferencing as the way out. Because see, even we are using this technology. Had this COVID not come, we wouldn't have used this technology, and we would still be thinking of I'll just go to Malaysia and probably have something there, or you will just come to Delhi and we could have something there. So
Sure.
It's a way out, and lot of companies are also coming in. Like you have Zoom, you have YouTube, you have Google Meet, you have Microsoft, you have StreamYard. You have all these companies also who could help, who could build a better infrastructure. Local companies could come in and build better infrastructure, so that even the legal profession itself can take some cue from it and then have a better system in place.
Sure. So, Rammit, would you want to add anything to the futures of the legal industry?
Yeah. I mean, for me as well, it's time to actually innovate and suddenly realize where we have, for me, I've put away all this idea of video conferencing, and now suddenly you're like, okay, now you're forced to learn it, do it, and be comfortable with it, because that's sort of the way forward. There's pros and cons. I think it's beneficial because you're saving a lot of time. I feel that you tend to complete more work because you're not, the traveling time and everything else is cut down. You're more focused. You can, depending on the type of work, of course. And yeah, wherever video conferencing is possible, which in ADR it would be possible. We have to be averse with, of course, with the digital platform and all. The only thing that concerns me is the fact that the speed of work, because I think the speed is multiplying. Everybody is doing things parallel. Everyone thinks that it's urgent on their aspects. I think in that regard, maybe we just have to be watchful as to how disciplined we are in using the digital platform. Because I think if we use it very actively, I mean, we're going to burn out quite fast as well. So there's too much information that is coming through, and proper protocols. Again, we have seen protocols with dispute resolution, which the rules and all of that, which governs proceeding, the sanctity of proceedings as such, in terms of a physical room, especially with alternative dispute resolution, privacy, and having a private hearing is very important. And then you security aspects of the digital becomes a question, and how do you impose these protocols, the guidelines that's going to come through becomes very important. I think that's what we will see in the coming days, for sure.
Okay, so shall we leave some time for the purposes of the Q&A from the viewers? Maybe I just bring up some. Let's see. Great, much more discussion, debates need of our. Yes, we already exceed the 1 hour. So let's pull out this. Penalty provisions will be attracted to those who have the capacity but still not paying to the laborers. I think, thank you so much. I think this is the comments. Richard Tay say, what amount of wages of the worker are protected by the labor law in India? So is there any differentiation when we say the worker and the employee?
So see, again, they have to qualify under the labor laws. And when they say wage workers, so there are specific class which draw wages and not salary. They work on daily basis, weekly basis. So this is when we say daily workers, wage workers. These are the categories that we talk about.
Right. Okay. So this is a bit long. Tenants are of different category. One explained here by Mr. Nishant are the ones who are below poverty line and whom the rents has been waived. But there are people who are freelancers, for example, beauticians, plumbers, painters, etc., employees whose salary have been reduced. Shouldn't there be a direction to have some relaxation on the rents? So your comment, I think
This
just
is
now.
this is this is exactly what I was talking
Yeah. All right. So I think we have discussed about it.
about.
Sunil
So
say,
these are
great.
the
Sorry, Nishant, you're saying. Please continue. You're explaining.
no, no. So with respect to that comment on freelancers, so what I was saying was that this is what I was talking about, unorganized sector.
Right.
We do not know the exact number of people who are in that sector. There is a data, so this is exactly what the focus of the government should be. But these are few
Right.
people who do not form part of the organized sector, that they will be drawing a certain amount of salaries. A plumber may just earn $100 or $500 a month, but you don't know what was the exact income that they were drawing at that time. So
Sure.
in that sense, there should be a direction to protect them as well.
Right. Okay. Let's pose another question. So, dear Sut, Nishan, when a worker falls sick, it is ESI who pays for the days of work not attended. Should it pay now when the entire country is sick? So, where does the employer bring in the money from to pay the salaries if there is no work? Would you want to comment on this?
So this is ESI. So this is employees state insurance. This is the
Yes.
concept that we have here in India.
Mhm.
So
He has a
yeah.
point.
So there have been no. So there are suggestions. In fact, yesterday itself, Minister of MSME, Mr. Nitin Gadkari, had said that we should use the fund of ESI to pay, because he has actually proposed a fund of 1 lakh for in order to support the businesses. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, okay.
Yeah.
Now, okay.
So there have been suggestions. There are deliberations in the government that they should pay from the ESI fund and other funds which they have. So exactly, I mean, if the employer is not generating any revenues from the business, how long can a business sustain? So
Yes.
such funds can be used, just like we have advocates welfare fund we were talking about, and we are using that fund to support the advocates. So even in these times, such funds of ESI or probably other such funds can be used to support the businesses. It's a good question.
All right. So, Jagtal Singh, he asked, Mr. Nishant of Awana, do you think freeze on DA hike by Indian government going to give Indian companies an excuse to lay off or cut salaries?
See, if I don't know if you understand the context. So Indian government has recently freeze the DA. This is dearness allowance in the Indian government for the employees. So I don't think so. It will be escape route for the businesses to lay off or cut salaries. Businesses are actually cutting off salaries. In fact, in one of the instances, one of my clients called me and asked me, the businesses have asked their employees to write an email to them, or probably to propose that you reduce my salary, or you can just ask them or ask the employee to resign. So there are ways to not lay off a person and make them resign, or probably ask them to cut their salaries. So businesses are cutting salaries. So that is not in question. But layoffs would, again, with respect to the contractual employees, the businesses are free to lay off the employees. It is only an advisory. It is not a direction from the government to not lay off the employees. It is an advisory from the Honorable Prime Minister himself. He said that we should not lay off or entrench people from the companies. So this is what the advice was.
So your take is you rather cut but not lay off or retrench? What is the business community like? They prefer try to cut first. They cut first and not lay off, or they will just jump straight and lay off first. How's the take on the business community?
No, so businesses are actually cutting salaries. There are businesses who have cut down the salaries by 30, 40, 50%. So it is not that government has disallowed them from deducting salaries. It is only the payment of wages which has been directed to not to be stopped. They have to pay wages, but as far as the salaries are concerned, they can pay. With respect to retrenchment and layoff, the protection, it is an implied protection by way of that direction. There is no direction as such, because when the government says that you are supposed to pay wages to the workers without any deduction, they in effect mean, which in my interpretation is, they in effect mean that you can't retrench or lay off these people, because we are asking you to pay them salaries, wages without deduction. So
How
there is no
about
question of retrenching or
law
layoff.
firm? How about law firm? Are the Indian law firm cutting salary?
No, it's a big few. There are few big law firms like Amarchand and others. They have in fact announced early bonuses, and they have in fact, in the last week of March they did early bonuses. But I believe few because it was also a month for increment. So what the few firms have not increased the salaries of these people, and said that we will for the moment not implement the increased salary. So it's a mixed setup. There are only a couple of them which have announced early bonuses and increased salaries and paid good amount of money to the advocates. There are few firms which are also cutting salaries.
What amount are
it
they
depends
cutting?
actually on the financial.
How many percent?
I believe majority must be doing that. I am not too sure about that. Majority must be doing it.
I mean, what range of percentage of salary are they cutting? 20%, 30%?
30 to 50%.
Okay.
Okay, so we look at it again. I think we try to acknowledge the audience here. I think Rajam, Paul, Malaysia Bar should look into this. I think this is in relation to a comment just now about the Bar Council of Delhi doing things for the members. Rampal, give you a thumbs up. Thank you, Rampal. Then every country needs different measures, whatever works. I think this is in regards to the caning. All right. Tarun Awana say hi. Hello, Tarun. Rajan Paul, bring public caning to Malaysia. You smile, right?
Are the people actually violating your MCO? If I believe it is MCO, it is called MCO in Malaysia, right?
Yeah, very
MCO.
It's a lot of conversation and no caning yet.
Yeah. MCO stands for
you don't have that. You don't have that. I mean, the population. You don't have that population.
Yes.
All right, Tarun again. Give you a thumbs up. All right. Then there's a suggestion increase. There will be increase in bankruptcy cases. I think he has talked about this issue. The threshold has been increased. I think this is the right move. Malaysia, we have also done so to increase the threshold. I think same to Singapore. So yes, I think this probably will be the last question we are taking. Do you think the pandemic has peaked in India? If not, when do you think it will peak? Do you think that there are more that government should have or can do? Well, it's a tough question.
So first part of the question, do you think that the pandemic has peaked in India? But there are few reports which I obviously read online. So they say that the pandemic in India may reach its peak in mid of May, because we've already been in the lockdown. Today is exactly a month since we've been in lockdown. We have been in lockdown since 24th. So there have been increase in the number of cases, and probably because of more testing. It is not because there is a lot of community transmission as such, because there were already a number of cases. But what we lacked was the testing kits. So now government is actually investing in testing kits. We are testing more and more people. We are trying to know the magnitude of it. So probably what I read from WHO and other reports which are coming in. So mid of May would be the peak of pandemic in India. And the second, if not, when do you think it will be? I have already answered. Do you think that there are more that the government can or should have done? I think yes. There are few aspects. Government has moved on. At this stage, the government focuses on health sector, which is of the utmost importance at the moment, and also the lower strata, the lower population, the lower strata of Indian population. So yes, there are few steps which are in the right direction, but at the same time there are few steps which are probably which also have been introduced by now, which
Right.
includes for businesses there has to be rent waivers maybe, and salary cuts can be allowed, and all of that. Government should do something about that for
Right.
businesses, in my
Let's
opinion.
move for the enactment of a single COVID law, like how Singapore is doing or has done rather. Is there a move for India to come up with
So,
a COVID bill?
I'm sorry, there was some disturbance. Could you just repeat it
Yeah,
again? I'm so sorry.
I'm just asking whether there is any call for the enactment of a COVID bill in India. Is there any movement?
No, enactment, just like you have in Singapore. Are you
Yes,
talking about?
yes,
So no.
yes.
So
Which
there is no such enactment of law as we have in Singapore as yet. But
I
there are
understand.
few advisories from the government which are in the form of enactment itself, if I may say, which has
Right.
statutory force. All the orders which are given by the government have statutory force under the National Disaster Management Act.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay, so we have Vinay Badoni say very interesting and informative discussion, and we have Bhagwan Singh who say Jai Sri Ram, and I think that's a clap hand. Well done. And we have Abhishek Singh. That's wonderful,
Abhishek Singh.
simplified, and Abhishek. All right. That's wonderfully simplified and explained. Thanks, Mr. Nishant Awana. We have Sachin Awana, who gives you a thumbs up. Well done. We have Bharat Chaudhary, thumbs up. Jai Avana, I think you have a large fan base. Nishan
No,
Mahendra Avana.
there are, because it is also available on Facebook, so probably they are also watching it.
Right, all right, okay. Thank you for all for this interactive session. Yes, we try to make it interactive as possible. Then I think thank you all speakers for the informative session and
Yeah,
great
I think,
discussion.
yeah, all right.
All right, is there any other questions that you want?
I think we missed on a question by Abhishek Singh, which is what are the legal options for healthcare workers on case of bias or assault
Yeah.
by the society?
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
this is exactly what I was talking about. There has been an amendment to the Epidemic Act of 1897, which has brought in penalty and imprisonment. So whosoever attacks the frontline workers and the medical staff. So there is an ordinance which has been brought in by the government, amendment to an ordinance.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think with that, we have addressed all the issues being asked. I think it's been a very informative, and I must say it has been a very interactive sessions between the speakers as well as the viewers online, and people ask questions and they give you likes, and I think we are able to address. I think I'm very, very happy with the speakers today. So again, I would like to say that, please follow us on the China ASEAN Legal Cooperation Center, CALCC's Facebook. Tonight, we are talking about the Malaysian time, 8 p.m., when we have our friends from Italy who will be sharing the session today. So the focus later, in about 3.5 hours now, will be on Italy. So do follow us on our Facebook, and please share it out if you find this very informative. Please share it as many people as you can. So my name is Tay Yong. I'm the Vice President of the CALCC. On the right bottom, Dato Ricky Tan, he's the President of the CALCC, China ASEAN Legal Cooperation Center. And thank you again to our two distinguished speakers today, Mr. Nishant Awana. Thank you so much again. And
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Yong.
All right. Thank you again, Rammit, for the excellent discussion and input. All right. So with that, I will say namaste. I think this will be the new normal.
Thank you.
This will know because we're no longer doing shaking hands anymore. No more shaking hands and no more hugging. You see. So I think from now on, I will do this. I think this will be good.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So with that, thank you again.
All
We'll
right,
sign
thank you.
off today. See you again. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. See you. Bye.
Bye.